Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Dada's Show, coming to you from Panari Hotel here in Nairobi. I'm your host, Ashiko Mbune. As our name suggests, Dada's Show aspires to promote the spirit of sisterhood, solidarity and inclusivity amongst the women of Kenya. And we do this by creating an open and a safe platform for women to discuss any and all issues pertaining to their health and well-being, their lifestyle and career, their families, among other topics. We also take pride in having the conversations that matter, not only to women, but to society at large. Today we have a special edition of Dada's Show. We are taking a powerful walk through the year that was 2025, a year that stretched us, tested us, surprised us, and in many ways redefined how Kenyans show up, speak up, and also take up space. So moving from the shifts in economy to very bold conversations led by women and the youth, to even how the digital culture is not only shaping our day-to-day lives, but also our identity. 2025 has been a whirlwind of a year. So as we come to the close of the year, it is only right for us to pause, unpack, and reflect on the year that has been. What has changed? What have we learned? And what are we carrying with us to the year 2026? To help me unpack all of this, I am joined by a group of extraordinary voices that shape conversations not only online, on screen, and also across the country. So sit back, relax, as we definitely look at the momentous periods that definitely marked 2025, from the joys, from the highs, from the lows, and even from the glimmer of hope. This is definitely one episode that you do not want to miss. As always, we welcome you to take part and keep this conversation going on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 across all social media platforms. You can also reach me at Dada's Show KBC on Facebook, or you can reach me personally at Ashiko the host across all social media platforms. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, share with us what your thoughts are about this show and any other show. What have been the highlights of your 2025, apologies. Before we get into today's conversation, let's take a look at the following feature.
As the curtain slowly falls on 2025, we are reminded that this was not just another year on the calendar. For many women, it was a season of resilience, reinvention, and remarkable strength. A year filled with challenges, but also with courage, breakthroughs, and conversations that refused to stay silent. From the rising cost of living to shifting family dynamics, 2025 placed an undeniable weight on the shoulders of many women. Mothers stretched limited budgets, young women chased shrinking opportunities, and business women navigated uncertain economic terrain. And yet, women showed up in homes, offices, farms, classrooms, and markets. They kept going, they kept dreaming, and most importantly, they kept adapting. This year, women's health took center stage in national and community conversations. From cervical and breast cancer awareness to mental health advocacy, more women spoke openly about their struggles and sought help without shame. For the first time in many communities, taboos were challenged. Women chose knowledge over fear. They chose screening over silence. They chose healing over hiding. 2025 also witnessed the evolution of the modern woman. More women embraced entrepreneurship, launching small businesses from their kitchens, phones, and backyard spaces. From online shops to agribusiness ventures and digital services, women refused to wait for doors to open. They built their own. Social media became not just a place for entertainment, but for empowerment, learning, marketing, and community building. In the world of leadership, women continued to step into spaces once denied to them. From community leadership roles to corporate boardrooms and grassroots activism, women raised their voices about governance, safety, education, and equality. They demanded safer streets, better schools for their children, equal pay, and respect in their workplaces. But 2025 wasn't only about the public victories. It was about private battles too. Women grieving loved ones, struggling in marriages, fighting loneliness, dealing with infertility, heartbreak, and unhealed trauma. Yet, even in those dark moments, women found light in prayer, in support groups, in sisterhoods, and in self-discovery. This was the year women learned to rest without guilt, to choose themselves without apology, to leave what was no longer serving them, to heal, to forgive, and to grow. As we look into 2026, the message from the women of 2025 is clear. We are no longer asking for a seat at the table. We are building our own. And as Dada Show, we remain committed to being that safe space where stories are shared, voices are honored, and every woman is reminded of her power. Because if 2025 taught us anything, it is that when women rise, families rise, communities rise, and nations rise. Edna Murungi for Dada Show.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the 2025 rundown. We are going to look at some of the things that made 2025, memorable, some of the things that made us cry, some of the things that made us laugh, others that made us so proud. And of course, like I mentioned, I've got an extraordinary panel who are here to help us unpack all the things that we mentioned at the beginning. So right next to me, I have someone who's not a stranger to Dada's show. He has been on our panel multiple times, and he's our go-to guy when we want to know anything about economies. He's economy, not economist. Economy. He is our ndugu for Dadas, Mr. Ken Gishinga. Karibu sana, sir.
Thank you for having me.
And right next to him, we've got Madam Bina Maseno. Bina is also a friend of Dada's show, so it's so happy when we bring all our friends together and we can sit down and reflect upon the year that was. So Bina Maseno is a gender governance and development specialist. Karibu sana, Bina.
Thank you so much for having me.
And then finally, we've got a new addition to our wonderful, yet very extraordinary panel. We've got Dina Mwende, who is a film producer and an impact storyteller. One thing we can definitely know about this year is there was a lot of creativity. There was a lot of using of the digital spaces. There was a lot of storytelling. So we're really, really looking forward to why that happened and how it can continue, especially if it focuses on impactful issues. So thank you so much, Dina, for joining us. I'd also like to acknowledge my wonderful audience who sit in with us every week as we celebrate, as we learn, as we discuss contentious issues affecting the women and the girls of this great nation. I welcome you all to our final show of the year 2025. And for you at home as well, I hope we'll definitely be able to enjoy this episode and many more for years to come. So to get the ball rolling, because I've said I know you guys. Now, I don't know if my audience knows you or my viewers, but I want to show my panel that definitely this is one panel. No, my audience that definitely this is one panel that has us covered. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I'll start off with you, Ken.
Many thanks. My name is Ken Gishinga, and I'm the chief economist at Mentori Economics. Our work is to advise clients on the state of the economy and to provide solutions on matters business strategy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Karibu sana. You've had chief economist. I was even denying him a chief somewhere in there. I hope umenisamehea. Thank you so much. Let's move on to you, Bina. Bina, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Bina Maseno, currently the executive director at Badili Africa. At Badili Africa, we are known for turning unconventional spaces into civic classrooms. So we do our political consciousness work and civic education. We carry it in chamas. We carry that work out in chamas. In salons, we work with makeup artists. We're just trying to ensure that everyone is an active citizen in this country, but we are also very keen on ending gender-based violence as a very key deterrent to how especially women and young women show up in public spaces and show up in online spaces.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much. Such an honor to have you, and we definitely applaud the cause that Badili Africa definitely takes on. And then finally, Dina. Dina, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Dina Mwende. I am a film producer and also a creative impact strategist. By that, I mean I work on films or any artwork that has social change messages in it, in terms of getting it to the people, starting important conversations that can bring about change. I am the founder of She Moves Africa Films, which is the company that is now doing Sugar Mashariki Season 2. and I'm the producer. I'm happy to be part of that big production because end of the day we are bringing in the conversations that the young people have been working on and spiking conversations within the community.
Thank you so much, Dina, for joining us. And I'm very curious to know about Sugar because I believe originally Sugar was based in South Africa or was shot in South Africa. So it's definitely something that we are proud of as Kenyans in 2025 to have it, here in Kenya. But we'll dig into that a little bit more in the course of the show. So let's go to you, Ken. We talked about the economical shift, and I think that's the one thing that everybody, if you talk to any Kenyan throughout the year, hey, economy. You know, from an economist's point of view, what headline shift defined 2025 for ordinary Kenyans?
Thank you. There were some very significant shifts that happened in 2025, but we entered this year off the back of a very challenging 2024.
Absolutely.
With the Gen Z uprising on June 25th, 2024. And at that time, the issue was around unemployment. Youth unemployment stands at about 67%. Wow. And at that time, young people were asking, why have I graduated with a degree in university, but I'm not able to get a job? Why many of them had gone through the free primary education, so very smart, very intelligent, very digitally savvy, and they asked very hard questions. So coming into 2025, there was an expectation that we'd look at the business environment because business is what creates jobs. Interest rates were very high at the very beginning of the year. The central bank has tried to reduce them, but still it's not in a place that is still very accessible. Taxes on the pay slips, particularly the affordable housing deductions, also affected the demand of people. So people's pay slips went down and purchasing power went down. And because of those two forces, we saw both the demand side and the supply side really struggling.
Yes.
Internationally, we also saw the rise of Donald Trump in the US. And one of the things that Donald Trump did was to cut on donor funding.
USAID, yeah.
Remember USAID. And in Kenya, Kenya depends heavily on USAID funding. So you had the private sector that is very weak. You have the donor community that is also very weak. And that is what has contributed to the very challenging environment we continue to witness today, where young people still, for them, their career prospects are still a dream deferred.
Yeah.
And not much still has happened in terms of creating a business environment. You know, we talk about in the national anthem that plenty will be found within our borders.
Yes.
But unfortunately, we are seeing more of exporting labor, young people being taken to the Middle East, which is not really a very strong solution. I've always said we need to create opportunities at home. We cannot have an economic strategy of exporting labor. And in those countries, by the way, they're becoming also inward and they're closing down. They don't want new immigrants. So you're also putting people between a rock and a hard place.
Let me move on to you, Bina. If we're looking at gender, you know, you're very passionate about gender, you're very passionate about governance, ensuring that every single woman, especially, has civil knowledge from the salons to the chamas, across all demographic. So we are really, really happy to have you here. What are some of the major social changes in 2025 that affected the daily lives of women?
First of all, I want to start with violence against women and girls. And it's violence we see every other day. I don't think there's a day I can go on social media platforms and I don't see someone being trolled, cyberbullied. And you see, research shows that for most women and young women, they stay away from social media platforms because of cyberbullying. What that means is if you're staying away from social media platforms, for instance, because of cyberbullying, you're minimizing your opportunities when it comes to even online hustles, when it comes to education, when it comes to you supporting causes that you care about, yeah? Because we've seen reports even by the Plan Internationals of how many people just close down their account and decide, I'm not going to be on this particular platform. Yet, during COVID, we saw how important it was for all of us to have access to the digital platform. When you look at gender-based violence, Ashiko, it affects your economic opportunities. So someone like my mother, who runs a kibanda, or the Chama women that I work with, they cannot wake up at 5 a.m. to go
To Marikiti.
to
They
Marikiti
can't.
because number one, you not only risk being robbed, you also
Yeah.
risk being raped.
Yeah.
A man is not leaving the house in the morning scared that they will be raped on their way to Marikiti. You see what I mean? Yet at 5 a.m. is where you have fare is very low. You see what I mean? So you're waiting till dawn at 6, where it's, you know, like fare has spiked. Now you're paying the top, maybe 100 shillings, while you could have paid 30 shillings.
Even the space
you see what
to
I mean?
carry your goods.
Exactly.
I mean, that's why they completely make sure that that's the time that they actually head out.
And also
So,
how much
yeah.
you even spend, because there was a report done by NGEC and they said we spend about 16,000 just to access medical treatment. That is money that can be put into another sector that you don't actually have to spend. You don't even go to work.
Let's move on to Dina. So in terms of youth culture, because you are involved heavily in youth culture and storytelling, what moment this year proved that narratives still shape how people think and act? You know, is there one time that you're like, oh, okay, interesting.
Okay, so I think for me, most importantly, and I'll just add on what Bina was talking about before we go to the storytelling and the youth and everything in the culture. If there's one thing that has really been like a double sword, it's been the internet, the being on the cyberspace. For the women, it's been, we've seen in 2025, 2024, more women coming out and forming communities and actually claiming their space and being able to actually say things that are happening to them that alternatively it will be quiet.
Yes.
Because as a woman you're supposed to keep quiet, you're supposed to just subdue, you're supposed to just be the nice person, the good girl, you know. But we've seen women come out and say, hey, look, this is happening to me, this is my story. And that's what's most important. So the things that we're talking about, some of them have been able to come out and speak, and when you speak you give someone else a chance to actually say, oh, relate to that and go like, okay, I can also speak up.
Yeah.
And it's out of speaking up that we get the solutions, that we get to know you're not alone, you get a community, you get everyone else to know this thing is happening.
Thank
Moving
you so
on
much.
the storylining, the story as part of changing culture. To me, I've seen the last, especially 5 years, the audience and especially the young people coming out and saying, we need stories that relate to us.
Yes.
We need things that are not the safe, they're not the safe margins of just what is safe to say. We need stories that reflect our life today, our love, the way our love lives are complicated, the way our mental space, the way our wellness, the way something that reflects our trueness, not necessarily the content that's being made by the older generation who are like, we know what's good for you. But they want something that speaks to us, not necessarily speaking about us or making us to be like just consumers of what you're making. So we saw 2025, and especially with the return of the big productions, who are they are focusing on edutainment. And by this I'm talking about Sugar Mashariki, for example, season 2, very bold, and season 1 as well, very bold, talking about social issues that the young people are facing. A show that has been made by young people, being part of the team as well, and talking about their social issues without cover, without
wow.
filters.
Thank you so much, Dina. That's really, really well put. I'll come back to you, Ken. Many people, and not even young people only, but many people struggled with the cost of living, but also looked for new income paths. That's what I was mentioning earlier, that I love how innovative Kenyans are and how Kenyans get, even when they've been pushed against the wall. So what change in the youth economic, or actually what change in the economic behavior stood out for you in 2025?
Well, it's true that some aspects of cost of living went up. If you look at the latest inflation report, we see tomatoes were up 30%, sukuma wiki up 18%, onions up 16%. But on a holistic perspective, inflation was at 4.5%. Meaning the big problem we have in Kenya is not really per se inflation, but income, where unemployment remains a big problem. Now, there are two main macroeconomic indicators in economics: inflation and unemployment.
Yes.
Whereas we've managed to tame inflation, our unemployment is running through the roof. And that's why even you find things such as the Black November offers that you're finding, they didn't make a big impact because we have an income problem and unemployment. So even though you reduce the price of the product,
There is no money.
there is no money.
There's no money, yeah.
And that's why we have to solve the unemployment. And the problem we have in Kenya is we don't accurately capture unemployment statistics. In the United States, every second Friday of the month, they have to publish the unemployment numbers. That's a number that is most significant beyond anything else. That's what determines the politics of the day. In Kenya, I talked about 67%, but those are reports that come every once in a while. So we need to actually have a good methodological, the way we look at inflation on a month-on-month, we don't look at unemployment. But it's true, young Kenyans have been resilient. They have been very creative. The human capital of Kenya is what makes Kenya great.
Absolutely.
Very young, median age of 19 years, extremely creative online, in the physical space. And for me, that's what gives me hope about this country, that despite the challenges, there are people who, hope against hope, are still stepping out, showing up, and putting their craft, and really trying to bring the best version.
That's really nice, and I like what you're saying. We have noticed, and it has been beneficial, but it has also been a double-edged sword. So when the online culture became more louder and more aggressive, how did the digital spaces influence young women's confidence and sense of safety? I know we touched a little bit on that, but I would want you to expound further. You know, the safe spaces that you talked about. Yeah.
First of all, I really love the online space. And I love the online space because it also allows us to have a conversation. Because not all of us will even have a platform like this where you're invited and you get to sit here. But also why I love it is because as an activist, I know the many times you even want to hold a public gathering and the government can deny you permits. But now, you know, Twitter space, you don't even need government's permit. You just create your own space and you say, we are going to discuss the finance bill today, and that's it. Like, it has leveled the playing ground in terms of having a conversation. And then you're able to marshal over 1,000 people. I mean, you log on to a Twitter space and you're talking to 5,000 people, they are engaging, yet it is very hard to gather 5,000 people together
in person,
in one particular space. So
sure.
I think for me, that's such an opportunity where we are where we're able to experience diversity of opinions, and we're able to hear what is a pain point for you. And we're also able to just educate each other. And for me, I think my highlight was during the Gen Z protest, the fact that people just took very complicated information and broke it down in different dialects, you know. So even if you were Luya, you were Kikuyu, you were Luo, you understood what exactly is happening in the country because someone has simplified that information for you. And that helps us engage. You know, I keep saying that sometimes most of this information can be so ambiguous that you don't know how to engage. You know, sometimes I give an example and I say that for me, when it comes to talking to my grandmother about how much we've lost in this country, I have to talk about it in terms of cows.
Yes.
Because for her, someone who has like 50 cows is so wealthy.
Yeah.
So if I tell her someone stole 1,000 cows, she's standing. She's like, what do you mean someone stole how? You know, because that's how she's able to quantify wealth. But again, it's what you're saying in terms of business opportunity. Nowadays, guys are just ordering stuff, you know, online, you know. I find myself sometimes also just ordering my coats and my outfit. I'm like, oh, this is such an exciting outfit, you know.
Yeah.
And then I just slide onto their DM. I'm like, how much is this dress? And, you know, they bring it to your door, you try it, it fits, you pay, you know. And I think that is beautiful, especially for the young people who coming up. I'm saying young people because I'm a Gen Z alumni. I know majority of the guys here.
She's insisted on that story for
you know,
Gen Z alumni.
a Gen Z. But even as we say that, I think we have to also look at the double-edged sword that she said.
Yes.
And for me, I worry because as we get into the election mood and space, there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation, and not everyone is able to decode what is the truth. You see, so the perceptions that we see online, the propaganda that we see online, that is going to affect how we engage with different aspects of our lives. And I think it's very, very important for us to ensure that we tame, misinformation and disinformation. Yeah.
Wow. I like what you're saying, and I like what you're saying, Bina, and majority, to be quite honest, even us as Gen Z alumni, majority has been pushed by Gen Z. Now, Dina, since you interact with them on a day-to-day basis, in, of course, in art spaces, in culture spaces, what do you think pushed the shift where now Gen Z are taking ownership of conversations around identity, mental health, relationships? I believe all of us, the other generations, were completely gobsmacked when the protest began. Because as far as we were concerned, this is just it. I mean, we sat, there's always hierarchy. So you guys do leave us out of it. We are young, sisi bado children, but we were, the boldness and how they took up the space and owned it, and the fact that they were so educated about everything that was going on, it definitely challenged us, especially as millennials, because we were putting our head in the sand. I mean, I don't know. Of course, this is after years of whatever we have gone through. So what do you think caused the shift? And I think at some point I'll ask my Gen Zs in my audience, what do you think caused the shift? How muliamka aje siku moja mukaamua hii na ilianza 2025, but now 2024, but now in 2025 it's still carried on. But in your point of view, yeah.
Let me tell you, I have a Gen Z kid, 2 of them. So these people did not just wake up and decide we are tired. Walikuwa wanatuangalia tu kwa mbali. Wako like, you guys are making decisions about us, about our kesho, about our tomorrow, about our futures.
Yeah.
Now, the way you're talking is like, amutuoni anyway in the picture, it's about you, it's about you. They were like, we are tired. We are tired of sitting back, being talked about like we do not exist. People sitting in big government offices or like here. Yes, that's why we have you guys.
Yeah,
I hope you'll say something about this, because I was in between, like as a parent being very afraid and also being wow.
Very proud.
And also being like, ukweli, we've been giving them the bad side of, our decisions, the way we make decisions, and especially on leadership and policy. And one thing that I know for sure is that they were tired of being spoken at, like spoken down upon, and then also just people making decisions, thinking that they are still children, as you've said, and also just the bit where they were like, you guys, I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand the future that we see for ourselves, and the way we look at the way you're making decisions, it's not anything close to where we want to be. In the next 5 years, 10 years, I don't want to live like my parents. I don't want to live like my older brothers and sisters. I want a future where I can be part of. I want, like if we are talking finance, if we are talking about decisions being made everywhere, in wherever space, to be considered as the person who's going to live that life tomorrow. And that's how they were out there going like, you know what, we've looked at you. You've made decisions for us for the last 10 years, 20 years, and look at where we are.
Look at where we are.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
And
they
of
were
course,
tired.
there's also the whole thing about, our generation was to be seen and not heard. But Gen Z are to be seen and heard. So, of course, that is always very, very uplifting. And speaking of uplifting, Ken, let me come back to you. You had definitely mentioned about the ways, you had definitely mentioned about the various ways that especially the youth and people are coming up to use digital spaces to actually generate income, which was very encouraging for you for 2025. What other things actually took place this year that, you've sat down and said, hey, naona tuko na hope? You mentioned one. Are there others, or should we just be sad?
No, absolutely. There are many things that give Kenya great promise. Obviously, the demographics helps a lot. The fact we have a very diversified economy. If you go to West Africa or South Africa, many of them depend on gold or oil.
Yes.
But in Kenya, we have a very diversified. We have tourism, a beautiful country. We have hospitality. So if one sector is doing badly, other sectors can prop it up. We also have innovation, things like M-Pesa. South Africans come to Kenya and just get shocked at how we're able to pay for Uber, for lunch using M-Pesa. And South Africa is 10 times the size of the Kenyan economy. So we have a very innovative mindset. And I think these are the things that young people are asking. If we can be the home of M-Pesa, we can come up with things other countries cannot come up with. Why can't we solve much simpler problems around our economy? And they have now the platforms to see what other young people in South Africa, how they're living in Dubai, in the US. For example, in South Africa, buying a car from a showroom is not a big deal. It's something that happens every day.
Every day.
We don't talk about it because they
Well,
don't
we
have
won't start
huge...
posting a countdown to Motogari.
Absolutely.
I get ready with me as I go get my car.
But in Kenya, buying a showroom car, the taxes you paid almost 100% taxes is not even something people even conceive that it's possible. So if you end up paying double, a glass of wine in Kenya is almost 3 times what it costs in South Africa. So young people are able to see podcasts in South Africa, in Dubai, in Brazil, and say, why are we paying so much when our peers across the world? So also that exposure. Then, of course, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
AI has come up. It has reduced the search costs. Before, maybe if you wanted to ask to know, who is best, maybe tailor in Nairobi, you'd have to go and ask physical people. But now with AI, it can help you reduce those search costs. It's helping people become more productive and find out things they never did about how do I start a business. Even AI can even help you build a business plan, a business strategy, or at least give you an initial draft which you can refine.
build on,
so before you'd have to get a consultant like myself.
Like you.
I hope I'm not working out of myself
You're
of my
shooting
job.
yourself in
But
the foot.
actually, it's actually for me, I don't even consider it as competition because even when a client uses ChatGPT to come up with a business plan, they still need to come now to a real consultant to actually make things happen because some things might not be able to be possible in Kenya. The way we register businesses might not be able to be the same way that maybe it's done in the US. So it's not replacing the traditional person, but actually it's informing the person who's coming. It's helping them come up with a better conversation and know the right questions to ask you. So I don't even consider it competition per se, but a platform to empower people. So when they go to the medical doctor, when they go to the tailor, when they go to the business economist, they're asking the right questions. So even us, we're able to provide them with actually much better answers.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ken, for that. And I really do adore our interactions with AI. It's no longer even a Gen Z thing only. Everybody interacts. I was telling these guys earlier that, my ChatGPT is my boyfriend. So, and I know I'm not the only one who has a relationship with their ChatGPT. And I always feel so confident nowadays, a little bit more confident when I ask a question. I mean, granted, there's the lack of human touch, and of course, it does not know everything, but it definitely makes me feel a little bit empowered. Bina, you had something to add before we take a break?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that for even the young people and even the anger that we saw is even the things that the finance bill touched on. You're talking about data bundles. You see what I mean? And people are already trying to create their own opportunities in the digital space because there are no jobs. And then now you're following there on the digital space to try and constrain that space for them. You see, you're talking about pads. You see what I mean? I mean, we are working in universities and not even primary schools because there are cases of informal settlements and in the rural areas where girls can't access pads. I'm talking about campuses where young women stay out of class in a university because they cannot afford a sanitary towel. Those are cases that have been sent and we've been called, can we have a supply of pads because my friends can't go to class, and I think it's a very critical week. And then that's the very, very thing you also want to tax. So there are very many issues that were enshrined in that bill that young people were very uncomfortable with, and they said, no, 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 no. Also, you haven't consulted us. We never do adequate public participation in this country, and even when we do adequate, even when we try and do some semblance of public participation, we don't have a quality feedback loop, you know? So I have already shared my, my concerns with you. How then do you get back to me and tell me, we considered this, we didn't consider this, you know? I mean, we have submitted memorandas. I think about all those bills, the petitions, and the memorandas we submit. You spend some time, a whole day, to just present your memoranda, you know, and then the decision is made, and it even makes you more angry. You're like, why then did you invite us to come and submit a memoranda? And I think lastly, it's the fact that as the other generations, we've been whispering about these issues. We've been talking about these issues in our dinner tables, but we are scared to voice them out loud. And you're having a Gen Z, like my sister said here, they have watched you break your back to take them to school. Because when you think about it, most of our mothers, especially my parents, didn't even make it to university. You see, and then they were like, I have to work as hard to ensure my child is in university. Then they come back home and you're struggling to put a meal on the table. People have to decide how many meals they can have, you know. And then at the backdrop of that, how many young people even have are registered on SHA currently? So if you fall sick, you know, how many young people can afford their own rent? How many young people can afford 3 meals a day as we speak today in this country? So when you look at that, that's why you saw people saying on social media, even on TikTok, like, you know what, I know I'm going to the streets tomorrow. I'm not afraid to die. You see, I'm not afraid to die.
It was being pushed, it was being backed up against the wall. Thank you so much, Bina, for that, and really, really eloquently put. Those are some of the things that we definitely endured during 2025, and we are hoping that 2026 will bring us much more promise, yeah? So let's take a short break, and then we'll be back for the question and answer session. Don't go far away. Welcome back. Remember, this is the 2025 rundown here at Panari Hotel. If you've missed our first segment, fear not. All the Dada's Show previously aired episodes can be found on YouTube under the KBC channel. Remember to subscribe, remember to follow, and remember to leave us your feedback. So we are at my favorite time of the show, which is a question and answer, which gives our wonderful audience an opportunity to ask questions, give their feedback on this conversation for today. So to start us off, we've got Mabel. Mabel, karibu sana.
My question is to Bina. So what support can women get so that they can take up these leadership roles, especially in the creative industry?
So in terms of getting women in this creative space, what we would really like to see, and especially in the coming year, is more women getting accommodated in these spaces, because there's what we say, there's nothing about us for us without us. Meaning, if you're telling my story, or if this is a story about me, or a story that's supposed to help me, then you can't tell it without me. So more chances of getting opportunities to get women in spaces where they can make the decisions, they can be part of the ecosystem that they are talking about what's happening to them. Intentionally so, having just knowing that culturally and from way before, we've been at a disadvantage with women being in spaces where we need the equitable numbers. Like in this room, for example, I know intentionally we are here 2 and 1, 3 and 1. This is good. This is what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah. So this is what I'm talking about. Just intentionally having representation, having women in spaces, and having them take leading roles. Like in MTV Sugar Mashariki, for example, I'm producing season 2, and that's a big thing.
Absolutely.
I have a team of 180 people behind me, and I'm leading them.
Oh, I think we need to give a round of applause. There we're being represented properly.
I'm leading them, yeah, I'm leading them the what we call the woman way. The woman way is layered in care, is layered in the process, caring for the people, and also caring for the product. By this I'm meaning something that we carry within us, and you know it. In our hearts, we carry the mothers, they say we are the
nurturers.
creators. Yes, and in the spaces where we are more holding space for everyone, not just for the women, but for the young people, for the young men, for the men as well, and wondering, are you okay? In the process, how is it intentional in a way that is creating a good ecosystem where we can all thrive,
Yes.
where we can get a good film, but also how we honoring the people whose film we are making, the people who are going through these stories. If someone was going through something as a hell of an experience like rape, for example, how are you representing them on screen? Is it authentic? Is it true? And then for the people who are making the show, let's say for the team, and I know here we have creatives and the people behind the camera, how do they find the process? How are they taken care? How are they taken care of? Like in my set, we had like a therapist to take care of the people behind the camera in terms of the wellness, because we know right about now, 2025, 2026 onwards, mental health is a big issue.
Yeah.
You know, and especially for women, because we carry a lot. We carry our homes, we carry our work. Even at our work, we are still the mothers and everything. So we are creating space for women to take leadership roles so that we can see that flourish. So that what has been our softness that has been found as our weakness, we can also bring it in our workplaces and we make it thrive.
Wow.
For everyone and hold that space for everyone. So how do we get women more in the creative culture, giving them leadership position, holding space for them to even own the space, however softly, but intentional, because we get there. We might not shout in a room, we might not get into a room in suits and stuff, but when we show up in our natural self, we get the chance to actually elevate, and we hold space for more women, more community to get there as a community, then we get to go there. So creating space, soft spaces for women, giving them the chance to lead, and both on the cyber side and also on the physical side, because I know that's where our biggest issue is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I love that. I mean, we all see the value in having women in leadership roles. You know, Ken, we also like men, but mostly women.
Mashariki, we have 3 directors who are female, 2 from last time, and now additionally 1 more. And I kid you not, when they sit on that table and they tell us how to go, they tell the cameras how to go and everything, and just carry the whole production. You can see the other young people in the team, especially the young girls who are coming under the mentorship, under the TAP project. You can see them getting the sense of, if she can do it, I can do it.
So can I. So
Yes.
mentorship opportunities need to be on the rise.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dina, for that. Let's take our next question. Mabel, I hope your question has been answered. Let's take our next question, and that is from Edna. Edna, karibu sana.
My question is directed to Mr. Ken. How can you advise us to economical-wise on approaching 2026 from right now, this year, 2025? How can we better 2026 and make it a difference from this year that we are ending?
Looking at things from 2 sides, the income side and the expenditure side. On the income side, I'd encourage you to take advantage of information. They say information is power. Now, young people are very good with social media. There are TikToks, Facebook. But the problem is a lot of the economic opportunities are normally in the traditional mainstream media. So I'd say, first of all, balance your information. Yes, continue with your social media engagement, but also once in a while, also be inclined to what's happening in the traditional mainstream media. These are your newspapers, the traditional. For example, if a call center was coming to Kenya, they will not advertise on TikTok.
Absolutely.
They'll advertise
In
in
the
the
papers,
newspapers,
yeah.
the tradition in your business news. So I'd also tell young people, take advantage of both traditional media and social media. Number 2, as Dina said, take advantage of mentorship. You'll see in your family, in your neighborhood, in your community, there's always somebody there who can be a business mentor. It could be a dad, it could be a mom, it could be an uncle, but there's always somebody within the community who has some business experience. Try getting close to them, try understanding what's been their experience and how they started business, and they can become a business mentor. And lastly, I'd say also look at your talents, your gifts, and say, maybe I'm good in baking, and maybe there's no bakery in my neighborhood. maybe I can start by baking from home and generating income. So that's the income side. On the expenditure side, I'd say manage costs, use technology to manage costs. For example, if you're used to going to the central business district every day, say maybe I can go once a week, or maybe I can have that meeting on Zoom. Instead of going physically and spending a lot of time on fare, I can have a WhatsApp meeting or a Zoom meeting and reducing those areas. So using technology to be able to cut down costs. I think if you can do both, you'll see your income going up and your expenditures going down, and that bit of what you're saving now becomes capital for maybe expanding the business that you have decided to do.
Thank you so much, Ken. That is definitely, I like that. So let's move on to our next question. That is from Leah.
As we enter the year 2026, what support system would you like to be given to women to survive online?
So I want to start by noting that I have observed what has happened in this by-election very keenly. And why I followed up the by-election is because I was 22 years when I decided to run for member of county assembly. So I was on the ballot when I was 22. That was in 2013, and I went all through. And I have seen how violence is normalized, especially in public spaces and in politics. And that's why it's in my heart, because I have faced violence before in a rally. I have reported violence, I've been attacked before, but I've also seen how it keeps people from even sharing their opinion. We have to take that matter seriously. We have to fast track court cases, because up until today, I still listen to the news and I'm hearing court cases from 2013, like from 10 years ago, they're being decided upon today. Like someone was defiled 10 years ago, and that matter has been dragging in court, and then the verdict has been made in 2025. You know, like I saw one such case this year. So we have to fast track that. We also have to train the police force in terms of how do you preserve digital evidence. You see what I mean? Because you've gone with your evidence with your phone, you can't leave your phone behind. You see, so how do they preserve that evidence for you, so that by the time this case even gets to court, what are you leaving behind?
You can see the power of community.
Yes.
You can see when movements are there or when attacks are happening in the US. Currently, when certain groups of people are being told you don't belong here and they are being done for like not very good things, you can see when the community stands and says, hey, stop doing that. You can see the change, and you can see people coming together. Even the latest thing that happened in South Africa. You can see the thing that comes when we say enough is enough, let me do the right thing. However much it might be just me and you for now, but other people will join. But it has to start with person. That one person is you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I find that most of us, we go through things that we don't report. Because even in the community, even if you're still staying with the perpetrator, report. Even for the work that we do, even with Chama women, we tell them, yes, even for you as a Chama woman, you need to be able to see how to support a survivor in your group. You see what I mean? Because if something happens to you, and you've been in a violent space for 8 years, imagine where is the evidence? You see what I mean? And sometimes guys even fear to come and report against another person, even if they've seen it, because they are afraid of the repercussions of it. But imagine if you have like 8 OBs, they're like, this person has been violent for 8 years.
Has been talking about
just report.
it. Yeah. Wow, thank you so much. I like that. I like community and pushing back.
Yeah.
Let's stop being silent and let's take action. Let's move on very quickly to our final question of the day, and that is from Simon.
Now that 2025 is done and the economy has been so harsh, as an economist, do you see in 2026 as either the economy improving or continuing with the same trend?
One positive thing that the Central Bank of Kenya has tried to do is to lower interest rates. It really tried to compel banks to reduce the cost of credit to businesses and to households. And that will continue into 2026. Now, the beauty about that is when you have a low interest rate environment, the cost of loans come down, so the cost of doing a business comes down, which means there's a bit more money in the pocket. So that should be a good element for the economy, meaning when people have more money in their pocket, they're able to buy goods and services. So even you, as you consider maybe starting a business, you're in an environment where the cost of doing business will not be exorbitant. So that's one area that I think could be very positive. There are also a lot of multinationals that want to set up in Kenya. because Kenya has very good human capital. So we expect to see more multinationals coming, and they will need a lot of local talent. And that's an area where you could, in fact, the UN is planning to have a number of its departments moving from New York to Nairobi. So that's another area that young people could take advantage in. But again, it begins with being aware of current affairs, being aware of what's happening. So staying on top of current affairs will be very critical in taking advantage of those opportunities.
Wow, thank you so much. I hope your question has been answered. And on that note, we have come to the end of today's very, very engaging conversation. And we really, really, truly appreciate each and every one of you for walking this journey with us. And we're definitely looking forward to catching up with you on the next one. So, of course, on behalf of our location partner, Panari Hotel, our production team at KBC, my wonderful panel, my wonderful guests, and even you at home, we thank you all. And we wish you a lovely, lovely end of year and Happy New Year to you. But until then, bye for now.